50 cents on the dollar or wherever you need to be to make the deal work, right? And kind of like the nicer the house is, if you're going to wholesale it, for the most part, unless you're dealing with like a hedge fund or like, some specific situation, like if most people, right, are wholesaling to fix and flippers for the most part, right? Maybe some landlords and stuff like that, depending on the area. But, if you can start selling to retail buyers, they pay the most because they don't have to make any money. It's not a financial decision. They're paying retail because they're looking for a place to live in. So you can monetize all these properties that would never work like for a regular wholesale deal.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was. We do come across those kind of properties where it's like it needs a little bit of work, but it may not be for like any kind of investor, but like you said, for a retail buyer. So it's like, hey, I think the Novations would really come clutch in that kind of sense, but like you said, people who are willing to take an aggressive price cut and they don't want like the highest for their property. But I wanted to ask, right? So I know you said you start off with like the low anchor, right? Cash offer. And say if you do get accepted at that offer, do you still do the novation or would you sell it off as a wholesale deal?
So I've never had my cash offer been accepted. So even if I know I'm going to wholesale the property, the cash offer is just the jab. And then the concierge service, that's the cross, that's the hook, that's the knockout punch, right? So yeah. There's a couple things with this, right? Like with the sales process. So when I'm set, like we go through the whole first phase of the call, we call the discovery phase. In that phase, there's zero friction with the seller. There's zero pushback. It's very customer service, non-threatening, low man on the totem pole, not a decision maker, just listening to them and just asking follow-up questions and empathizing with them. Okay. That's what sets the stage with our relationship with them. And we build a lot of goodwill during that phase. Okay. The second phase is the anchor phase. Now, in the anchor phase, we're presenting data and information that is the reality of the situation on what cash buyers are paying and what the market will withhold for an off-market type of sale, where we're bringing up low comps. We're going a little bit more in depth with repairs. We're bringing up all the data, but we're not bringing it up as we're trying to negotiate with you and I got you, me versus you. We're bringing it up from the point of still the customer service type of energy, right? Very low, threatening. And it's almost like, oh, we're discovering this and then we're presenting it to the seller as a problem for us to solve together, right? Where it's like new information where we're not proving them wrong. We're showing them some things that they may not have been aware of because they're not in the, they're not in the real estate industry. So we're basically staying aligned with the seller.
Right.
Then we set the hook where we say, hey, look, if we can agree on price, like basically when I'm naming low comps, I'm also giving them low tentative ranges where it's like, hey, Mr. Seller, based on everything that we've seen here, like I said, I'm not a decision maker by any means, but just taking a quick peek in the area, it looks like investors, an offer may come in somewhere between like 120 and maybe 150,000. Like, if an offer were to hypothetically come in that range, do you think that'd be something you could live with? Right? It's something like that where if they respond, oh, hell no, there's no way, or they might say, oh no, it'd have to be at least 160, or they might say, oh, well, yeah, if it's towards the top of that range, I might. Like basically, I'm checking their temperature where I know where they want to be before I set up for my finishing move, right? For closing it out, right? So it's like they won't say yes to my cash offer because I always make sure, like the number I know they'll say yes to, that's going to be where my concierge service is landing. And my cash offer is going to be quite a bit below that, where it makes it painful and it makes this other offer seem that much better.
Okay. I see the way you break it down. Now that's a very good like I do like the way it's all phased out because you really do explain the whole gist to the seller, but at the same time you're bringing them to earth. You know what I mean? You really want to get them an understanding so that way they really would come and take your side. But so somebody asked where do you need to be numbers wise to make it work for like the seller and buyer? Like, well, I'll tack on to that question. Like, is there a lot of times where, with novations, right? Where you price it aggressively? Do you always have to, in most of those novations, do you always have to do like a price drop, or do you always have to, go price drop with the seller, or maybe negotiate more with the buyer? Like, what's that like on novation? Because I'm pretty sure people, oh, I got a novation, I'm all good. I'm gonna be able to sell it, but it's really not always the case like that. So how is it maybe a little different in that sense?
So I would not advise anybody to use price drops with the seller as like a standard card that you play. That should be like a worst case scenario, last resort, right? In case if there's some, because a price drop means basically that there was some error in judgment in the beginning where we thought it would sell for more than what it's actually selling for, right? So the times that if that will happen, you know what I mean? It happens to everybody because you can't always predict everything perfectly, right? But you always want to try to reverse engineer where the error came into place. What assumption did you have that is incorrect? Or what assumption did I have that I find out later that was incorrect? What new information did I not see that came into play? Like, for example, I had one property where we found out one of the walls was like a homemade wall that was put up, and the neighbor has like hella junk in the front and backyard. And it was not in our pictures. We didn't see the neighbor stuff, you know what I mean? And we sent a realtor out there, and it like dramatically kind of changed it. And the house inside stunk. Like, we couldn't tell from the pictures and things like that. And, like, if you need to do a price drop, you can, but you don't want to make a practice of it. Now, you want to be able to sell the property quick, right? So we want to sell it in 30 days or less. So we're looking at similar properties that are pending and also recently sold. And then we want to note, how long did it take them to sell? Okay, if it took 120 days to sell and it's just like your property, you're going to want to price it lower than that one. You know what I mean? Because you don't have 120 days. You got 30. So you generally, if you price it 5 to 10% below the other similar properties, unless the other one sold quick, like if the other one sold in like, 30 days or whatever, right? And went pending right away, then yeah, like if you price it at that point and your property is similar, you got a pretty good shot, right? But you want it to sell quick. You need to account for roughly 10% of the total purchase price to go towards paying the realtors, closing costs, and miscellaneous expenses that you could potentially occur, just as like a buffer, 10%. So you figure whatever it's going to sell for in 30 days or less, minus 10% in fees, then that's your net profit right there. So I always go into them trying to make at least $30,000. So your max allowable offer, you want to net $30,000 is a general rule. That's a good place to put it, because then even if some things go wrong, you have to like price drop, you have to do it, you could end with 20. Like if you go into these trying to make 15, you could end with 5, or you could end with 0. And you do the same amount of work for 5 that you do for 25. And arguably it's probably more work for the 5, because those tough deals normally are a pain in the ass, the small deals. Yeah, like that's how you want to calculate it. So basically 90% of a quick sale price minus profit is going to be your max allowable.
Okay. And so I was gonna ask as well, would these work with for sale by owners too? Maybe not, since they're not listed on MLS. Would you tell them to take it off market, like off the FSBO, the Zillow, and then relist it with the realtor, or how does it work with that sense?
So it's theoretically possible, right? So you could do it, but what would be required would be someone who has a reasonably priced FSBO that you negotiated lower and got to right away, right? It hits the market, you jump on it, no one else sees it, you tie it up, wham, bam, you get an ovation. Because basically what the move is you're taking an advertised property, marking it down for less, and then reselling it for more and re-advertising it, right? So it's a little tougher because the FSBO crowd generally want top dollar and they're generally stubborn. And that's why they do FSBO, because no realtor wants to list it for what they want, or they think all realtors are idiots and they know everything and they'll be able to sell it. But I don't know. Someone can prove me wrong. I haven't pulled that one off, but I also don't go after FSBO properties. So it is technically possible, but an unlisted, unmarketed property, a virgin property, that's going to be the best, because there still is going to be a record of it being listed as a FSBO too. You know what I mean? And if you're taking it off the market for a price that it didn't sell for and then putting it on the market for more money. Now, if you can negotiate a low enough discount where you could put it back on market for less than what it was listed for, then that would probably be a lot more palatable to the buyers. You know what I mean? But if you took it off for a price it didn't sell for and then put it on for more, it makes it look like, you know, not as good. It's like, well, it didn't sell at the lower price, so I'm going to raise the price. Like, people could be like, what?
Right. And then somebody also asked, do Novations work with pre-foreclosures? Like, you know, ones that are going to hit the auction or banks are going to close on them?
Yes. And you can get some fat ones that way, but you have to be careful to make sure you have enough time so they're not losing the property, right? So, you know, you want to account for at least 60 days, but just be careful, right? Whenever you're dealing with someone that's in pre-foreclosure or foreclosure, you know, if they lose their house because we can't perform, like, it's a pretty terrible thing. You know what I mean? So you just want to be careful that, you know, you can get the deal done and figure out, you know, if there's a way to stop it. You know what I mean? Honestly, like, I haven't dealt with pre-foreclosures in a long time, probably a couple of years. But, you know, I know there's ways that you can stop it by submitting like a purchase agreement to the bank and a few other things, filing bankruptcy, but that's probably going to mess things up on the deal. But yeah, just make sure you have enough time. Don't let them lose their house.
Okay. And so for the process that you'll always start with Novations, right? What kind of leads do you pull the same leads as everybody else, but you do more of the of the Novation pitch or so? Or what kind of like sellers are you really targeting? Are you targeting like vacant, like vacant properties, or tenant occupied, like what, or anything at all? Like, what's your kind of niche?
So personally, right now, I'm not targeting any. Like, I built like my Instagram and my course. Between those two, like, I'm getting enough JV deals to keep me busy like full time. Like, I have 11 in escrow right now. Got another 15 or so that I'm like actively working. So this is the thing, you know, for people that are like actively marketing, the best leads for this are going to be pay-per-click leads. And the reason why is they're targeted for motivation. What you want in this is you want a motivated seller who's willing to accept a discount, and in a property that hopefully is in a desirable area. The more desirable area it is, the easier it's going to be to sell. Right now, if it's a less desirable area, you can still sell it. You just need to get a bigger discount in order to make it move. You know what I mean? So yeah, no, there's not, like, you would target these deals the same way you would target for wholesale deals. But the only difference is you can also go in, you know, higher price point areas, but because it doesn't have to be like a fix and flip. You know what I mean? But if you're doing cold calling and stuff like that, that can, you know what I mean? That's kind of your call. But for most people that are actively marketing, there's a good chunk of the leads that they already have that will work for Novation. Like, already. Like, you don't have to do any new marketing. Keep your same existing marketing. And a lot of these deals that don't fit in your wholesale box will fit for the Novation box. So the same thing that would make it a good wholesale deal is also going to make it a good Novation. But yeah, active markets are the best for this. Obviously, bigger cities are great for it. You know what I mean? But it's more expensive to market in those places. There's more competition. They're normally more savvy. So it's like pick your devil that you want to deal with, basically, right?
Right.
You get fat spreads in the big cities. but it's vicious competition, and the deals are much harder to get. The small towns, you can lock them up real nice and easy, but it's just harder to sell them. So.
Okay. Oh, somebody also asked that they have a lead that's willing to do a discount. How can they JV with you on it?
For sure. Go to Instagram at Novation King and send me a DM. Give me as much detail as you can, the address, seller situation, condition, if you have pictures. Basically, in between my calls, I'll check my DMs for new opportunities, right? And, the more information you have, I can make a judgment call quicker, right? If I'm missing information, I got to write you back and you got to correspond. So if you send all the information you can, and if it looks like something that'll be a fit, we can set up a call and we'll bang it out. We'll JV, we split it 50-50. I'll run you through the whole scenario, A to Z. You know what I mean? We'll work the deal together and I'll teach you along the way. If for whatever reason it's not a fit, I can at least let you know why, you know what I mean? And help you, you know what I mean? Know to identify better in the future or whatever. And we'll just keep banging out deals until we find one that does work. You know what I mean? So yeah, hit me up on Instagram. If you want to learn my process, the exact thing I would do if I JV with you is exactly what I teach in the course. And the course is $997. You can get it at novationking.com, or you can do 2 payments of $529. I mean, if you want to split the deal with me, I'm totally cool with that. Our average assignment fee is like $30,000. It's either way is good. We can still JV if you want, but you can get the whole sauce at a fraction of the cost if you just get the course. But I mean, by all means, send me the JV deals. So I love those too.
Okay. So also, all right. So with the Novation deals, with the properties, right? What's the most distress it could have to where or to where it can't be novated because or you work with any properties at all? Or
so the complete beaters that'll never pass inspection, we still put them on the market, but it's just as a cash only as is sale. But you'll find there's less sophisticated buyers, and there's also buyers that plan on doing the work themselves. Maybe they have a different business model than say like a Facebook group type of professional investor, right? Where we would normally hit with our off-channel marketing, our off-market marketing channels. When you put it on the market, is putting it open to everybody. So typically, you can get higher offers, especially when you're dealing with people that are looking at the property through a different vision than say like a professional investor. So yeah, the beaters we love, we sell those, and we've had properties several recently where we marketed it to all our buyers list. They either gave us offers below where we are locked up, or they didn't even respond. We put it on the market. We had one that sold in like 4 days, and it was cash as is, the whole 9 yards. I was an out-of-state investor that was with that had a realtor that had been looking at the MLS for them, looking to buy more rentals in that area. Okay, they were gonna do the minimal amount of work and throw a tenant in there. They were looking as a fix and flip. You know what I mean? There was no ARV in their mind. They were looking at it as just a cash flow opportunity. So that's the beauty of it. You know what I mean? So it's not like we're ripping people off. They just have different plans with it. We're all looking at the same asset. One person saying, well, I need to buy it at this price because I'm put all this money in it, take all this risk, and I got to resell it. Another person saying, hey, look, you're giving me a discount off a fixed up one. That's fine because I can charge basically the same rent or pretty close to it. I'll take this discounted one. The deal works for me.
Okay. It's perfect. Because I do have a few leads that probably don't work for just the average, fix and flip, or any of those ones that we find on Facebook and whatnot. So I may have a few possible ones that I can bring to you and we can discuss about. But cool. Just wanted to also let anybody else know, if you guys have any questions for, Rich, just come on, hop on stage, introduce yourself, let them know, see if you can get something going. Let's see. All right, somebody here in the side chat.
Between a net listing and a Novation deal. See, someone said that. Oh, whoops. Did I let myself out of here?
Nah, you're good.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Yeah, I went into there and it exited out. Okay.
Oh, good.
So the difference between a net listing and a novation deal, a net listing, you're listing the agent as a realtor, right? So it'd be like, I'm a licensed agent. I promise you, Mr. Seller, to get you this amount, I'm going to list it on the market, and whatever I get for it, that's my fee, right? So you need to be a licensed agent, and you're still representing them as a realtor. With the novation, we're agreeing to buy their house at a certain price, and we have the language in the contract that says that we can resell it, for profit if we want to. So technically, we're reselling our contract, and we're not acting as a licensed agent. We're going and hiring an agent, and we do that through the power of attorney that is notarized and signed in a recordable format. So we're kind of duct taping the deal together using various legal instruments, but it's legal and valid, and the checks are cashing, and the sellers are happy. That's the key to this, guys. Like, you have to go into this making sure that your sellers are happy throughout the entire time. That's what's going to give you longevity in these deals. If you try to go in like Billy Badass and shark everybody and do the minimal amount, and your sellers get pissed off, and you just let it fly and tell them to kick rocks and all that, like eventually something, I don't know, maybe nothing bad will ever happen, but it's bad karma. And if something bad were to happen, it would probably be to someone like that. You know what I mean? That does the seller wrong, they complain, maybe, you know what I mean? So you want to make sure, just remember, the reason people accept a discount is because they're looking for a good experience. And just give them a good experience. Get good at what you do. You're going to make a ton of money doing these, and it's not that hard to like keep them happy. It's just going to take, listening to their needs, going above and beyond, being proactive, doing the things that seem easy that they should do themselves, but they're just not going to do themselves. Helping them find a place, helping them move their stuff that they need to, reassuring them, all these different things, making the hard decisions for them, the listing and the negotiation. So that's how you can add value to the transaction, and you won't have to worry about them getting upset. I have a lead. That's the one we just covered.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
Yeah, somebody said, well, I'm new to wholesaling. What is the best way to find costs and repairs?
I wouldn't worry about cost and repairs too much, because it's going to be different for every buyer. If you're doing novations, right, just look at what other similar properties that look like your property are selling for. That's going to be the key, and just sell it for a little bit less than that, so it sells quick. If you're doing wholesaling, like my advice would be, look at the cash as is sales, and look and picture that, and see what similar properties are selling for. Because everybody's looking at the property different. And here's the thing: you come up with the perfect dollar amount for every repair. You factor in every nail, every screw, every hammer, every board that needs to be replaced. Every cash buyer is going to argue with that, even if it's 1,000% correct, down to a science. They will still argue with that, right? So it's better to just be like, look, this is my price. We've done some research. If it works for you, great. Not, it's completely fine. We're entertaining all offers, but we've got a lot of traction on this one. Honestly, we're taking the highest best by tomorrow morning. So if you are interested, hit me with your best shot, and I hope we can put it together. You know what I mean? But that seems to be the best policy, because a lot of cash buyers, especially if you're new, okay, the cash buyer is going to try to be your best friend. And they're going to try to give you all this advice on how to evaluate the deals and all this. And some of it may be okay, it may be genuinely good, but just realize, like, there's plenty of fish in the sea. You as the wholesaler, you're doing the nasty ass work that nobody wants to do. You're the one, talking to the sellers and marketing and spending the money and doing all this stuff. If it were so easy, fix and flippers wouldn't make us so much money. They would just do it themselves. We do the hard work. So just realize you are the champ. You are the goose laying the golden egg, and you have the value. You know what I mean? So don't get married to one cash buyer. Everybody has a season. If you find someone that's quickly getting your deals, that's great. But yeah, I would keep putting it out there. And that's why I like Novations too, because then I'm putting it out to everybody. And then it's like, okay, You know what I mean? Then you can truly find what the market will bear. You know what I mean? You just get good at being able to predict that too. Because cash, if you're relying on just a handful of cash buyers, it can go great until, something happens, and it changes. So the more potential cash buyers you have, the more stable your business is. You know what I mean? Because you're not counting on just a few people. You have like the whole market supporting it. And that's what gives you consistency and stability is through the scale. Okay, cool. Would you recommend listing the property myself if I'm an agent, or is it too risky? No, I wouldn't. And for two reasons. One, the conflict of interest and the fiduciary ability. Two, you'll see once you're nailing these deals, listing the property is not the best use of your time. Okay, if you're good at negotiating these and finding these deals and getting them under contract, that's the most valuable use of your time you can possibly get. Because the money is made on the buy. Remember that. As long as you have a competent realtor that understands the area and understands the market and can give you sound advice, it's going to sell for what it's going to sell for. Like the whole thing of like finding some idiot that's going to overpay, you can't count on that. It's going to basically sell for what it's going to sell for. Now, you can have a realtor make it sell for less if they're a weak negotiator or they don't know what they're doing and they're incompetent. And then the other realtor pushes them around or whatever the case is, right? Or they just really need the money, so they just take the offer and want to just close it. Their Mercedes is about to get repossessed, or they're about to get evicted out of their townhouse or whatever, right? You don't know. That's why it's important to pick good realtors to work with. And then the best use of your time is nailing down more deals, because every deal you nail down, it could be $30,000 to $50,000 to $100,000, right? The amount of time it takes to get the deal under contract compared to the amount of effort and focused energy it's going to take to sell the property. Like, you want a realtor, especially now, they have less listings, so they can focus more attention on your deal. You want a dedicated person on your deal doing that, so you can continue in bringing in more deals, because you're not going to be able to find someone as easily that's going to be able to lock up deals like you. Like, if you're the boss, like, you're going to be the best person to do that. And that's the highest and best use of your time. I would find other realtors do it, and it frees you up to be in other markets. And, it's tough. Like, how many of those listings could you take yourself and still be bringing in new deals? Couple? I don't know. I've never listed a house before. But I know when you do a flat fee broker, you get like a shit ton of calls. You can have 30, 40 calls in a day. You know what I mean? And they're coming in while you're on the phone talking to sellers, doing all that. Or even if you're an agent going on the multiple listing service, you're not going to be able to run down there. Then the sellers are calling like that. So, yeah, I wouldn't recommend that. But that's a good question. A lot of people do ask that.
Also, William, he came on stage. He wanted to ask you a question. Yeah, Will, you can talk.
For sure.
Hey, Rich, I just want to say thank you for spending your time here tonight. Appreciate all the valuable information. We actually met in Miami, and you're a really down-to-earth guy. I just want to thank you again. My question is in regards... Yeah, awesome. Hold up. My question is in regards to agents. And when I'm making an offer to an agent, right, for a property that's been listed for 35, 40, 170 days, I feel like they don't take us seriously, and, that they don't want a lowball offer. I try to pre-qualify the seller as quickly as possible to see what their motivation is on the phone with the agent. But let's just say I've already pre-qualified and I want to make an offer on the home. How can I incentivize the agent to, be more, or build rapport, to be more willing to work with me than another wholesaler or buyer? And then how can I make my offer sheet look more professional when I'm sending them the email? Because usually we don't write up the offer in the purchase agreement because it takes too much time. We just want to crank out some offers, but we want them to be professional. Would you have any suggestions as to how I can go about doing that?
So I'll give you this disclaimer. I've never bought a property off the MLS or through an agent. Everything that I've done has been direct to seller.
Oh, that's good though. At least you don't have to deal with the agents.
Exactly, right? And I'm just starting to deal with agents, and I did for a little bit when I was doing flat fee brokers, right? Listing the deals. But yeah, like, I know one person that's really good at that, that's built like a multi-million-dollar business, is Ryan Zolan. You can check him out on Instagram, Zolan, Zolin. but he's a young dude. He's in like his early 20s, early mid 20s. He did like a couple $1 million in business last year. He's got a course and everything all about agent outreach. But yeah, I mean, I could speculate off of things that I heard, but I don't like to give advice like that. You know what I mean? And like for Novation, the on-market stuff isn't really a fit. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Unless John, do you have any advice for that? Do you have any experience with on-market deals?
No, we both working together in the same campaign. He just wanted to see what your thoughts on there kind of were, on it.
I can rephrase it to, a homeowner, because right now we're tackling different campaigns, whether it's a vacant property list, code violation. I think we're going to start with pre-foreclosures, although they're more difficult. But I see that the sellers, if they're reasonable in price, we're competing with other people who have already spoken to them on the phone, who may give them an offer. And not every seller, we have a few strategies we can give to the seller. We can offer them creative finance, or we can offer them to list it with the realtor, or we can offer them cash, or we could offer to wholesale their property for them. Just be upfront and say, hey, listen, we work with a lot of investors. If we're not going to pick this up ourselves, we may partner with one of them, or they may come into the deal and pick this up for themselves. So how would I go about finding what the best solution is for that seller's issue? And then really trying to, I'm good with building the rapport, but it really comes down to price at the end of the day, and getting them to agree on a price. Like, how can I explain to them, maybe like, hey, listen, I'm not sure if you're seeing the market, but prices are dropping. I don't want to panic pedal them, but I want to, be straightforward with them and try to get them to see the cash buyer's perspective.
For sure. No, okay. This is a question I definitely can answer. All right, cool. I may have misunderstood you initially. I thought you were talking about with agents, with listing property, doing agent outreach and stuff. So with the sellers, right? How do we get them to lower their price, keep rapport, understand reality, right? And get them to a point where we can actually put a deal together. Is that a good summary of what you're asking?
Right. That's perfect.
Okay. So that 3-phase process is designed exactly for that. And there's a few reasons on why it works so effectively. Because in the beginning of the call, we're doing the opposite of what they're expecting us to do, and the opposite of what most other salespeople do, right? Most of the other salespeople, they're giving them some pushback. This is salespeople's natural tendency to see if the seller is wasting their time, right? Or my time as the salesperson. I want to see if the seller's wasting my time or not. So a lot of times, like, salespeople will go right into like, what's the price you want? They'll go, you know what I mean? It like becomes like a confrontation right at the beginning, or it becomes at least like an adversarial relationship. So if you can have the whole front process be low friction, it builds goodwill in them, where they see you as more of like an advisor and a guide, right? Then we transfer from phase 1, where we're just discovering all the information, gathering all this in our back pocket. Now we basically use all that information to figure out how we can spin a narrative to get towards the solution that they're looking for and avoid the problems that they're afraid of, right? So it's going to be different in every situation. Every seller is going to have different fears and different hopes. Now, the way that you get them to lower their expectations, essentially, right, is what we're doing as negotiators. Their expectations are way up here. We want to be down here. We probably could go right here if we need to, but they're not even budgeting from right here. So it's like nothing, right? So the way to do it is, once we build up that goodwill, we present the data as a problem to solve. So one book that I really like is Never Split the Difference. It's by FBI hostage negotiator. A lot of you guys have probably heard of it. It's a real famous sales book. Chris Voss, I believe, is the guy's name that did it. And it basically, it talks about presenting all the points of negotiation as a problem for your counterpart to solve. Because you can't just, if the hostage situation, they've got 50 hostages, you can't say, okay, let's split it down the middle, kill 25 of them, let 25 of them go, and then we can all go home for the day, even Steven, right? You can't lose any ground with it, right? So it's kind of the same with our negotiations. You have to position it, the data, as problems for them to solve. And then I also give low tentative ranges where I'm not firing my shot and saying, this is what I'm going to pay. I have the buffer of saying, hey, you know, not saying this is what they pay, but just kind of from what I'm seeing, what other investors are paying in the area, it looks like an investor offer may come in somewhere between X and Y, right? So that's another powerful tool, because you're not inviting an argument the way you would be if, like, you tell them directly, like, hey, look, I could only give you 130 to 150, right? That's something arguing, and that's something that's personal. If you're positioning as a third party of like, hey, it looks like other investors in the area are paying between, you know, 120 and 150, they can try to argue, no, they're not, but you just name the comps. You know what I mean? So they're arguing with reality at that point and not with you. So that's how you have to position it, as giving new data and not proving them wrong. And then also setting low comps and low anchors that are below where you actually need to be, so that when you come up from the low anchor, they're winning. Okay? If you try to negotiate them down from their price, even if you just negotiate them down a little bit, it feels like they lost, right? They're losing because their frame of reference is the amount they originally wanted. When you set the low anchors low and you back it up with data, it reinforces it, right? And it also, anything we come up from that, now they're winning. And the price that we come up from the low anchor is going to be a lot lower than what they're willing to take from coming down from their price. You know what I mean? Now they're seeing as like, man, I got him 30 grand over what he wanted, instead of saying, man, I gave him 60 grand off my price. You know what I mean? It changes the reference point. And then the third thing is going to be closing with action. Closing with action, having a good system of closing where you're running them through the paperwork, is they have to stop you from proceeding. Not where something where the default setting, if they don't stop the process, is them signing the contract. You don't ever want the thing to be, we send it off and then we wait for them to like make a decision. Like if you can control those things, like that will like kill your closing percentage. Like you'll be light years above, because most people don't do those things. Even just walking them through the paperwork and directing them to sign, that'll double most people's like closing percentage if they start doing that.
Right. We try to send them the contract and then call them. Well, we call them on the phone and then ask them, have you gotten it? And they check their email. There's nothing there. Then we send them the agreement and they're like, oh yeah, I got it. And then we try to walk them through it. You know, and sometimes like we'll send a contract to people and I feel like they just sit on it, and, you know, they want to either use it as leverage to get the higher price, or, you know, they're just going to let it sit, take all these offers in, and then choose whichever the highest price is. Do you think I could push the seller? I don't want to like over push them, but could I say like something along the lines of, you know, I did ask you when we were on the phone last time, you know, if we could come to an agreement on price, that there would be nothing holding you back from moving forward today. And, you know, I really want to get the ball rolling on this as quickly as possible, because I know that if
your service pitch, that's the vast majority of them, right? Because most of the leads, they're already coming in pretty damn hot, right? Like the people want to sell. A lot of times they've already agreed on a price. Sometimes I'll get leads too where, you know, they already had it under contract as a wholesale deal, and as a wholesale deal that flopped. And now I got to tell them, we're actually not going to buy it. We need to do this other thing. And I need to set the stage on that and get them to agree to more time, and sometimes even a price reduction. And even those, like, I'll be honest, like with the leads people send me, the ones that I take on, like I'm closing like a very high percentage of them. I would say between 8 or 9 out of 10. Because normally if it's not a deal, like I can let them know why it's not a deal. You know what I mean? Right away. You know what I mean? So Yeah, it's a pretty high percentage of them that get closed, like when they send them to me. You know what I mean? Because normally, people are just coming to me because normally people aren't going to send me a deal unless they think it's going to be a good novation. Like people aren't just sending me like their junk leads. Like, thank heaven, you know what I mean? That used to happen, but now, you know what I mean? And most of the leads people send me are good leads and have good potential. Like the only thing that's going to be junk is someone that's not flexible at all in price, or if it's just like the middle of nowhere.
Okay. Also one thing too, right? What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, when the seller, so say, right, like, they go through the process, do you break to them first that their property might go on the multiple listing service? Or is there sometimes where you have sellers that, they may not fully have seen that there's gonna be listed and they see it on there? Like, have you had sellers like, hey, why is my property on the MLS? Like, I thought this and this. Like, have you ever had any encounters like that so far?
No, so they all know that it will go on the MLS because I read it word for word from the contract, and the power of attorney that's signed and notarized and witnessed in most states specifically says to go on the MLS. So it is fully disclosed, but here's the caveat to that. It's disclosed at the right time. I don't bring that up when I'm trying to get them to agree to it, right? You sell the result and then you explain the details. Gotcha. Most people think that explaining the details is going to sell them on the result. But unfortunately, human psychology is not how it works. And you'll see this in all advertising, right? Like, think of the medication commercials. Do they say, this is going to go in here and do this? No, they just show a bunch of happy people laughing and running around, right? They take it down to like the most basic end result that everybody's looking for. Right. So it's the same with this. You sell them on the result and then you explain the process as you're going through it. But at this point in their mind, they're already sold that you're the one to deliver the result. And the MLS and all that, it's just an afterthought. They don't even care about it. Okay. And the way I position it too is I don't put a big weight on it. Like, okay, this is our big plan. We're going to put it on the MLS. No, it's just like, hey, look. We're going to be marketing our contract rights. We do the opportunity to use the MLS if we so choose. We don't use it on every single property. It is just another powerful tool, if need be, to deliver the result on a silver platter for you. But don't worry, whether we utilize the MLS or not, it will not affect you in any way, shape, or form. And then I'll just move on to the next thing. So you just make it a no big deal. But they need to know that. It can't be a surprise that you put it on the MLS. Because, yeah, they will be pissed.
Right, okay.
But you don't need to hide it. If you know how to present it at the right time, like, they're fine. I have zero pushback on the MLS. Zero.
Zero pushback. Wow. That's really crazy, because I really think the way that you really deliver and, come in describing it, like, I really think you really do sell it in the sales and, in what you speak. But let me see. Well, some other guy had a question. Let me see. Yo, Adam, you gonna hop in here? Dorner? I think he was trying to get on. He said it won't let me up. Hold on. Let me see if I can Here, try again. Let me do that now. He's asked, but where can I find the contracts?
Contracts, you can get at novationking.com. I'll tell you what, for anyone that's on this call, send me a DM with just your email address. So DM your email address to me. I'll know what it's for. I'll send you a link that has all the paperwork. It's got a short video explaining how to fill it out. But
yo, that's the fuck up for real, man. Yo, this guy Novation King. Yo, if you guys are not,
don't tell anybody I did this now. Right? I don't want people to think I went soft or anything, but yeah, I got you guys. Here's the thing though, keep in mind, right? These deals have some moving parts. So go into this, right? And the contracts and everything make you more comfortable. Just realize, like, if you do these deals, you're going to want to either get a course on it or you're going to want to link up with someone that's gotten deals to the finish line before. because if you do the wrong thing, your deal could blow up, right? And the average deal size is $30,000. So it's worth to split a deal and have it happen than try to get it all and you're winging it and you do the wrong thing or you don't know what title company to use and all that, right? And then you end up like losing the deal, right? So yeah, DM me, Instagram at Novation King, give me a follow. I've got lots of free game on my site, like a ridiculous amount of free game. Like I've had so many people message me that they learn more from just watching my free videos than they learned from courses that they purchased. Like I've got tons of like real life shit. You know what I mean? Like this is not guru. The course is not how I feed my family. Like the course, honestly, is a long-term play for branding for me. So I don't have to do deals forever. Like I'd love to just do like affiliate stuff for software or help people giving away free information on YouTube and making money doing that. You know what I mean? So like, I got you. You know what I mean? I'm not tripping on the course. If you get the course, will it be helpful? Will it transform your business? Yeah, it probably will. Like if you put it into action and actually do the shit, yes. Like you will make millions of dollars just from getting the course. But there's people that do deals that never give me a penny. You know what I mean? They just watch my free stuff. They're sharp. They read between the lines. Hey, maybe they blow a couple deals trying to figure it out, but they eventually get it. You know what I mean? But anywhere I can help people is cool with me. You know what I mean? Because I get deals from this all the time. You know, everybody doesn't have to send me something or buy the course or anything for it to be worth my while to put out the good vibes. You know what I mean? It doesn't cost me anything, and good things always come from it. So yeah, I'll send you the paperwork. And if you come across a good deal and you're nervous, you don't want to maybe potentially blow it up, hit me up. And if I can't do it, I'll connect you with someone that can. So.
Damn, man, this guy, you hearing this man? Rich, man. He's gonna be, just as his first name says, he's already rich, man. Rich in the pockets and rich in touch.
Man, dude, the world is abundant, bro. There's so much money. There's so much money. It's like taking a bucket of water out of the ocean. Wow. That's why I like going to big cities and looking around and seeing billion-dollar buildings and stuff. You know what I mean? It just reminds me, like, look, man, some person that puts their underwear on one leg at a time, just like me, had the vision to build this shit, and they made it happen, bro. All just humans, you know what I mean? So,
you know, you have the power to do anything, you know, that our mind, we tell ourselves. But one last question for you here. And then here's a question for Rich. Where did you get your very first on market, off market, etc.? I'm having a hard time with cold calling.
So my first deal was actually a driving for dollars deal. And I worked for Sean Terry. Okay. I quit my Kirby job, which I'd been working with Kirby for 10 years, selling vacuums door to door, where I was like #1 salesman for almost the whole time I was there. Quit there, was working for Sean, thought everything was going to be peaches and cream. Excuse the guy on YouTube. Got there and found out it wasn't as sweet as it looked on the outside, right? And the leads were kind of low, and he was busy all the time. He didn't really have time, especially initially, to mentor me one-on-one 24 hours a day like I would have liked, right? Obviously, I don't blame the guy. He's a businessman. I'm a new guy that was just working for him. But it wasn't an ideal situation. So I knew like I was going to have to make some shit happen. And they would give us some preset appointments, but we also had to go drive for dollars every day and get a certain amount of leads, right? And I came across a house. It had a broken window. I actually told the story on the podcast. You can see it on my page. But it had a broken window, and it had a note written in the window in like serial killer handwriting, right? Looking crazy. And I went up and was like, oh shit, what's this, right? Go up, look at it. And the note said, don't you dare come back here. I'm going to call the police. I have a gun, like stay away. It was like something to that effect, right? Written in like crazy looking writing. So I'm like, oh shit, man, something's going on here, right? So we tried to